Hello and welcome to an Across the Obelisk Madness 16 run, where we're going to be playing Robin Yogger carry in the one-turn kill or OTK style. For context, I like to high score in this game, which requires an excellent in every single fight, as well as a very rigid pathing. It's been a personal challenge of mine to high score with every character as a carry. And as at the time of making this video, we have 3 left, of which Yogger I was the most nervous about. Traditionally, Yogger is very good as a support when we're playing 2, 3, or 4 rounds, and he can increase the buffs, the auras on our allies. He's very good at that. But for the one-turn kill style that's necessitated in high scoring, he's a slow ramping character. He doesn't have much energy reduction on himself, and his early game is awful. So we had to go really deep in the tank when coming up with this comp. And we are going to be robbing our allies, stealing from our colleagues, thieving their buffs to turbocharge Yogger. So hopefully he can just get over the line for his turn 1 clear. This took a little while in testing to come up with, but I'm very happy with the end result. We're playing Yogger, Gustav, Nesglect, and Andrin. And I hope you enjoy watching this as much as I did playing it. To start with, I'm going to cover what we found in the shop, the caravan, and the outcomes of our divinations. As you can see, the shop in town was not very fruitful. We did not buy anything here. The caravan, however, was a completely different story. We had 2 fantastic items in Twin Blades and Berserker Claw, and we decided to hold back 1100 gold for Berserker Claw on Yogger. As far as divinations, we rolled 11 fast divinations. On the first one, we took this fast strike on Yogger. For the second one, we took nothing here. For the third one, we took this detection on Gustav and nothing else. On the fourth, we took nothing. Here we were debating between this Inner Fire and the Clarity. I do like Inner Fire because it gives additional redundancy for powerful on the carry, but the third Clarity in the Inspire that brings was too much value, so we opted for this instead, but it was close. We took a War Paint on Yogger for the same reason of powerful uptime, which is why we like Inner Fire in the first place. We took this Fast Strike on Yogger and an upgraded Chant of Initiative on Andrin. It's a nice roll here. For number 7, we took the Scry, upgraded on Nesglect to save a few shards and nothing else. Similar story as before. In this case, we took Detoxify. I know I'm getting this because I like to play it with delay response. Inner Fire was still up in the air about whether I'd play that or not, so we went for Detox. Took a detection on Gustav and an upgraded Sweeping Strike on Yogger. Here we took nothing for the 9th divination, and on the 10th we took just this Corrupted Flash, which is a good deck thinner on Nesglect. The 11th divination was fantastic. We took this upgraded Fortune Telling on Nesglect for deck manipulation and Inspire. We took an upgraded detection on Gustav and an upgraded punch on Yogger. I do like to keep track of divination value, and in this case we rolled 11 fast divinations. The cost of those was 2,640 gold, and the shard value equivalent from the rewards was just over 1,800, giving us 69 shards for every 100 gold spent. I think this is extremely valuable given the importance of early game tempo and card quality in order to snowball for the high scoring environment. Let's head back into town and go through each character, their decks and their perk setup. Starting with Yogger. For reasons I've already mentioned, I do really like to go all gold and shards on as many characters as possible. For Yogger, however, we only perked 1 speed, and the reason this is that puts him at a base speed of 15. Now this is important because Nesglect is at 13, and for our speed strategy, we're trying to get a Chant of Initiative off on Nesglect to get him to 21 speed to go as fast as possible. Then we're trying to get a Chant of Initiative off on Yogger, a yellow one. We have 1 on Andrin, and we have 1 on Gustav for redundancy. And because Yogger is 15, this would also put him at 21, so he's at parity with Nesglect, and Nesglect is going to go first, so he can buff and inspire Yogger. If Yogger was at more than 15 base speed, he would go before Nezglect, which would be a disaster for the OTK, which is why we only went for 1. For physical, we went Fury, deal 5%, which is going to turbocharge late game Yogger. We're doing slashing damage, so we went down this tree. And we're buffing him with Sharp, so we did Sharp does 1.5 slashing damage, no longer benefiting Pierce. We did a little bit of Blunt and Vulnerable, just in case we play Ground Slam, and because we want punches to do a little bit of extra damage in the early game. The Inspire deals 10% instead of 5 is huge for the OTK. We do lose all charges at the end of the turn, but it doesn't matter because the enemies are dead. For Mystical, similar story. We do Bless doing 1.5 because we need to eke out as much damage as possible for the OTK. We also went with 1 Vitality because Yogger generates food. And this has 2 purposes. Number 1, on Yogger's level 3, we're going to be getting a little buff to damage for every 3 HP above 100, so he can actually buff his damage. Secondly, if we have any damaged characters, this is a pseudo heal, where we can apply additional vitality charges to our teammates, just to give them a little heal. Nezglect, we're going to play Fanaticism, so it's nice that we can get a heal when doing damage to ourselves from Yogger. He can chip in with some healing. In terms of his deck, we're playing a lot of cheap attacks, and the combo that we're looking for is Cleave, Fresh Meat, Sweeping Strike. We're going to have 5 energy instead of 4, because Nezglect is going to cast a delay response on Yogger to get him to 5. If for some reason we cannot deck manipulate Fresh Meat, we will be able to sharpen ourselves and buff Cleave, Sweeping Strike, and the Fast Strikes to do a bit of extra damage. For Gustav, for perks, we tried to make him as fast as possible. Because we're playing Chant of Initiative on Gustav, we're obviously perking him fast as well. And in the mid to late game, we're going to be playing Eternal Lullaby for slow, which is why we perked a slow here. We picked up those detections in our divinations, and so I actually re-perked a little bit to give Gustav some mark for the early game clear. We're obviously going sharp on Gustav, because he's going to be turbocharging Yogger. And at least in the early game, we're going to be doing Sharp, deals 1.5 damage of piercing, because we're going to throw a couple of shivs out from Gustav for some extra damage. I play Uproot on Gustav, which is why we're perking Vulnerable. This is just in case we play Ballad of Conquest, the same with the Bless. Spoiler alert, we didn't need this. For the support characters, I really like to have Inspire draws too, for the beneficiaries of Expert Tracker from Andrin, and we'll do a little Inspire chain before putting all the rest of the Inspire on the carry, Yogger. And we went for a little bit of mind damage. This is not 100% necessary for Power Slave, the class card, and because we're going to be playing a little bit of heavy metal, but I wouldn't say that's absolutely necessary. As far as the deck's concerned, you'll recall the detections that we picked up in the divinations that we re-perked for, the Chants of Initiatives I've discussed. Chant of Accuracy is a no-brainer. That's obviously going on Yogger. Now, I like Setup Scavenge, but we couldn't afford to upgrade this, so we'll be looking for a free upgrade. And I've mentioned Uproot already. AoE Vulnerable, in my opinion, one of the most underrated cards in this game. And then Revealing Flask. What a strange one. Revealing Flask, we can put one on top of a target's deck and give them 1 Inspire. And the reason we're going for this is because Gustav is so fast, he's also going to be the beneficiary of a Chant of Initiative from Andrin for speed control. And we're actually going to be placing this Revealing Flask on top of Nezglect's deck. And because Nezglect also has the Inspire Draws 2 perk, this is a net +1 card, even though we're putting essentially a curse on top of Nezglect's deck. So Nezglect will draw a hand of 7, and one of those would guaranteed be a Revealing Flask. But Nezglect's deck manipulation is so good that we can actually draw 3 cards, put that flask back on top of the deck, and scry it away, and continue drawing cards with Expected Prophecy and Fanaticism for the energy, chaining through the deck to make sure that we find the key cards, Detoxify, Delay Response, Benediction, and Clarity. So I thought this was a neat little idea, because Gustav is so fast in the early game, to make sure that Nezglect still draws 7. And the drawback of this is not so bad because Nez can just Expected Prophecy it to the top of the deck and scry it away from himself. In terms of Nez's perks, we're trying to make him as least slow as possible, so we went as many speed. The buffer and the sight should be self-explanatory. And Nez is going to be chipping in by making sure that Vulnerable does 8% resist reduction for physical damage, because obviously that's where we're leaning in on Yogger. I mentioned this Inspire draws 2, and we're playing Divine Power on Nezglect, potentially in a fire, which is why we go powerful here. We do like to go Insane. Insane reduces enemies' max HP by 2 per charge, because in the early game this is kind of a mini kind of 6 AoE, which is pretty nice. We went Stanza, increases all damage instead of only mind damage in case we're giving Stanza to Yogger. I think this is probably unnecessary. And again, Bless on Nezglect because of Benediction and eventually Divine Power. For Andrin, this is pretty self-explanatory. We've spoken about Chant of Initiative. We've spoken about the combo of Scavenge setup. Trace, Vigilance for deck manipulation at the start of the turn, and Uproot for AoE Vulnerable. I also bought a Chant of Accuracy, again, just to make sure that Yogger is super strong in the early game, which is where we're going to struggle. For perks, we're obviously going fast on Andrin to make sure those Chant of Initiatives are effective, and potentially late game we're going to be using the slow perks as well. I went for Mark, doing slashing damage, because Gustav has a few of those detections, and we may end up marking a little bit with Andrin as well. I perk Evasion and Buffer just in case we go Ballad of Evasion. Spoiler alert, we did not. Similarly, Sharp, and again, Vulnerable because of Uproot. So those are the setups in the early game. At this point, we're going to go straight to the Caravan. We're going to buy the Berserker Claw that we high rolled here on Yogger. And then I'll see you in the first fight, Fight 1, to see if we can OTK. And here we go. For those that have seen my Bree video, you know the drill. We are digging with Traces and Vigilances to find Chance of Initiative. As I mentioned, the Expert Tracker is going to go to Gustav, so that he draws 7 on the first turn. Gustav is going to speed up the other 2 characters, and we're going to get Chance of Accuracy off on Yogger. We dug through Gustav's entire deck, and I mentioned the Reveal Flask, such that Nezglect can now draw 7 cards instead of 5. Nezglect is now chaining through his own deck. We have the Fanaticism there, allowing us to do an extra Expected Prophecy if we need it. There we go, put the Revealing Flask back. Give Yogger a bunch of Inspire, some Bless, reorganize the top of his deck. I'm a little bit aggressive here, getting rid of punches. Don't really need those, because we really want to find a second War Paint to give him full, as much powerful as possible. We only have 1 War Paint, so we're digging for 1. And we found the second one, so we're up to 6 powerful. That's 60% more damage. We fired off a few fast strikes to build up Fury on Berserker Claws before casting Cleave. And there we go. Turn 1 kill. Amazingly, on Fight 1, we found a Corrupted Cleave. This is going to be hugely helpful for what is otherwise the hardest part of the game by far. We're also going to take a quick look at the sheep fight. This is a lot more forgiving than the other hallway fights. But again, just wanted to show the play pattern, a few examples of the early game. And in particular, we pick up a very nice reward here that I wanted to show you as well. This is definitely a higher risk comp. I would not advise using this comp for an OTK because the early game, so many things have to go right for us to clear. And this reward versus the sheep is just another example of that. You can see in this instance, we Use 2 Chant of Initiatives on Andrin this time, so you can kind of mix and match. In the previous fight, we launched 2 Chant of Initiatives from Gustav. Here, though, we did 2 from Andrin, 1 on Gustav, 1 on Nesgelect. This fight, we missed the Bless on Yogger, but like I said, we can play a little bit more loose. We didn't need the Benediction. We have 12 Sharp on Yogger, which will be more than enough to take care of the sheep here. Get up to our 6 powerful, and you can see we have extreme overkill. Easily done. Now here, we picked up another cleave and a corrupted fanaticism. This is an insane reward. And we're very, very grateful for that. This is going to come in handy for our AoE clear on Yogger, big time. Here we are in our first Corruptor fight. And again, very lucky. There's a very forgiving Corruptor in the form of Armageddon. I like this one because they never even get a chance to launch these things. If it was Melancholy or some of the other harsher Corruptors, this would be a much harder battle. You can see again, we're getting 2 Chants of Initiative off on Andrin. You can kind of mix and match between Gustav and Andrin of who's on Chant of Initiative responsibility. Ideally it would be Andrin because we want Gustav to get as many Chant of Accuracies off as possible with his energy instead of playing around with speed manipulation. That's Andrin's job. Opted not to take the second Fanaticism there. We already have 1 in hand, and I really want to dig for gas in the form of Inspire for Yogger. We're looking in really good shape here. We have 4 energy to use across a Fortune-Telling Benediction and the expected Prophecy there. Again, getting rid of the punches. Punches are the worst cards in Yogger's deck at this stage. We have our 2 War Paints for 6 powerful. We have our Corrupted Cleave for AoE. And we're going to launch a few single target damage first. It's unusual to do this, but I'm proccing Berserker Claws, you can see down there in the bottom right. And the reward for this Corruptor is unbelievable. We picked up a Corrupted Blood Rage as well. We are high rolling so well. And all that high rolling culminates in what is otherwise usually the hardest fight. We're playing against Heavenly Armaments. We have a bunch of Curses, Broken Bones, and low self-esteem in our deck because we fight the Farmer. And this is a really tough fight. Thankfully, because we high rolled so well on Yogger, we should be able to clear this, but otherwise, this is why I was nervous about playing Yogger carry this fight specifically. The top portion of his deck looks very, very good. I think everything that we need is already there. So again, thankfully, we don't have to dig deep in Yogger's deck. He has 9 Sharp and 3 Bless. And we have to kill this on round 1 to get the Excellent. You can see there in the middle. If we go to round 2, then we would not achieve the Excellent score. And then Triple Cleave. Unbelievable. Thank God. we got through the hardest portion of the game. And now we can have some fun. Got an extra setup there too. So now we are level 2. And finally, it's time. We can actually enjoy ourselves. Well, you can see we picked up a Corrupted Trace there on Andrin, which is a great find. Just more deck manipulation, which we're always happy about. We are level 2 at this stage, so we're digging for heavy metal here. And This is where the magic happens. Gustav is going to chain as many songs as possible. We can actually sharpen himself. And you can see there, 18 sharp on Gustav from heavy metal. But he did no damage, almost nothing. So we're digging through Nezglek's deck, same strategy. You can see we found an extra delay response there. We found a one-cost version, which will be converting to a zero cost in the next act, once we get access to the altar. And pillage is what we're looking for. You can see it gives us some powerful, which is quite nice. We won't need as many war paints, or any really, in the following act. We high rolled the premium meat as well. And it's time to go. Punch to proc the pillage. And we are going to steal Gustav's sharp to put 18 sharp on Yogger. Amazing. So much damage. That's crazy. Oh, I love it. I'm so happy we got here. So, as a brief interlude, I'd like to give you a bit more context about the history of this run. Originally, on Andrin, I had perked this perk. Sharp on heroes does not lose charges at the end of the turn, and cannot be purged unless specified. And the reason I did this is because Gustav would lose one sharp at the end of his turn before Yogger thieves it. And so I did not want him to lose that sharp, because it's a loss of damage on Yogger. As you can see, this was a slog. The early game, it took an hour or two to get through the early game for this run. It was horrendous. So we got to this point, and we are kind of licking our lips and rubbing our hands together with glee that we're going to do the combo. And I lined up the combo in this fight, and surely steal is not the same as purge, right? Right? Well, it turns out that I cast a rob on Gustav, and all of the sharp stayed there. So this thing was the bane of my life. The sharp did not transfer, because it does count as a purge, apparently. And I was extremely upset with this mechanic. Like, why would you not say purge? Like, steal is steal. It's not purge. So I remember saying to myself, you know, I'll deal with your launcher, Paradox, but this is unacceptable. And I took the dog for a short walk to to cool off, regain my composure. And do we give up? Hell no, hell no. So we started the entire run again from scratch. We took this stupid perk off of Andrin, and we slogged through it a second time, which is what you've been watching. So, lesson learned, if anyone else tries this combo, please, for the love of God, do not do this perk, because you will be griefing yourself big time. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy that at my expense. Moving on. Heading into the Ylmer fights, just a quick update on the state of play. On Yogger, we found a Bladestorm, which has a lot of single target damage, which will help us gun down Ylmer. You'll have seen the Blood Rage Cleave that we picked up in the early game, and that's it as far as Yogger's deck is concerned. On Gustav, we found one additional uproot, which will be great vulnerable application on Ylmer. And for Nezglek, we obviously found the Corrupted Fanaticism, which is going to help us generate the mana to chain through our deck. Night Terror is going to be fantastic, again on Ylmer, to reduce the resistances. For Andrin, we have a Corrupted Trace, so our starting hand is always going to be Trace, 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 Vigilance, Vigilance, for just additional deck manipulation. And we're playing Wild Hunt into Ylmer, and the reason this is just in case we can't turn one him, and we're burning through the charges on Night Terror. He gets very tanky on turn 2 because he casts Reinforce on himself. And sometimes I find with physical characters outside of Sylvie, it's tough to gun him down on turn 2. And so this Wild Hunt can just be a little contingency plan just in case we get to turn 2, just to guarantee the excellent and for Yogger to kill Ylmer. So with that in mind, let's head into the fight. Usual stuff. In fact, here we found the Chant of Accuracy. There's our Mark backup plan for turn 2 in case we get there. Great looking hand on Gustav. We have this little book so we can draw an extra card when we play a spell. Of course, songs are spells. Power Slave, great sharp application on ourselves. And we'll lob one Shiv at Ylmer. We want to flash first before we Expected Prophecy because it's an extra card dig. Night Terror, fantastic for reducing resistances. Here you can see we're again chaining through the deck, putting Revealing Flask back every time, and that's why we're playing it. We also can do an extra Clarity as well. Really looking for pillage here so that we can rob Gustav of his sharp. Funnily enough, I crit succeeded, so you can see we have 3 vitality and some fast on everyone. But actually this is kind of a grief, because I have to first steal the vitality and the fast, and only then can I steal Gustav's sharp. A couple of fast strikes and the Blade Storm, we do get him down, so we did not need the mark after all. Still a good insurance plan, but we did not need it. Now I'm going to skip Ballad of Evasion. We're going all in on the OTK. Nothing worthwhile here. We'll take our money and see you shortly in Act 2, where we're going to go through Velgrath. Going to do a little bit of scouting of the Corruptor units above ground for Colin and Monty, who can be problematic, and it looks like we're safe. So here we are in Act 2, and we're about to head out and take our first fight. So what did we change? Firstly, we took out a lot of punches. We have 1 left, but took a lot out. We bought a repetition training on Yogger, and otherwise we're largely pretty consistent. In terms of equipment, we picked up the Dryad Mask from Act 1, and we're buying Rifty on Yogger, which is great with Bless because it deals double 2 types of damage. On Gustav, we found a Brass Amulet, a Magic Tome, which allows us to draw when we're playing spells. Songs obviously counter spells, so we can dig deeper into our deck. And we have a Corrupted Flute to reduce the cost of a song spell in hand by 1. For Gustav's deck, we regrettably took out 1 additional Uproot because we really need his deck to be pretty tight. we changed all of the chant of accuracies to 0 cost. Why did we do this? Well, as we know, we can steal Gustav's buffs. So in order to proc heavy metal as many times as possible, we can now make these 0 cost, similar with Chance of Initiative, stack a bunch of sharp on Gustav, and then have Yogger steal it, the Robin Yogger. We went with an Adrenaline and an Eternal Lullaby, just in case we have to speed control against problematic enemies like Monty and Colin, and otherwise the deck looks largely the same. The reason we had to play an Adrenaline is because Eternal Lullaby is an expensive card. Once we hit level 3, we're going to be going Fanfare, because we have more than enough sharp and don't need Shrill Tone. Fanfare is an ability that lets you reduce or refund an energy whenever you play a song spell. So we start on 4 energy, we can Adrenaline up, and Eternal Lullaby is effectively a 4 energy card. We have to spend 5, we get 1 back, so this is pseudo 4 energy. Similarly, Power Slave is effectively free, so we've only spent 4 energy. This Chant of Initiative would also be effectively free. So we'll go up to 6 energy with Adrenaline, and our songs that cost energy are effectively, collectively 4. That allows us 2 additional energy to either do some combination of setups and or uproot. So we need Adrenaline in order still to be able to chain through the deck and get all the songs off with Fanfare. Nesglect, we're trying to get Nesglect as fast as possible, ideally to be faster than even Gustav. So we took this Boots of Swiftness, which we bought in the shop, as well as an Emerald Necklace in Act 1. Nesglect's deck, we completely switch him up now from Benediction. Divine Power is the new Benediction. I don't think we needed 2 Fanaticisms, so I took out the non-corrupted one. And otherwise, Nesglect is largely the same as Act 1. Andrin, very consistent. I don't think I changed anything. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But Andrin is looking in really good shape. We obviously take the Forest Crown from the Dryad to maintain speed control through the rest of the run. We have this Ball of Wool. I'm not sure that we'll hold on to that for long. So that's the state of play in Act 2. And now we'll transition into the first fight coming out of town. So we're heading up to this node. We're going to be going up to the Colosseum, going through the Forge, and popping out here to fight the boss. So now we'll see if we can OTK this first fight. First fight with our much better optimized decks coming out of town. And for me, this is a first. I don't know if it's going to be any good or not. My fingers are crossed. We'll have to see. So I'm a little bit nervous. In theory, on paper, I think we can get there. But you never know until you put it into practice. Gustav's hand looking really nice there, so didn't have to change much. I don't think we need Night Terror for the single target resist reduction. One interesting thing is I cast the Chant of Accuracy first, such that Sharp is the first aura on Gustav. So you can see there next to the fast, the 7 Sharp. That's why we do that ahead of Power Slave. If we were playing Power Slave first, then actually Powerful would be the first aura on Gustav. So if you're wondering why not Power Slave first, it is actually slightly more sharp to do a Chant of Accuracy first rather than the Power Slave. I think, at least I think. So here we have our Gustav sitting at 38 sharp, and he's done, I don't know, all of 30 damage or something like that to the enemies, and our pillage is just where we need it on top of the deck. So let's see what happens. The buffer protecting us from the slow, and Divine Power. Okay, we pillage and we're going to proc it, the Fast Strike. And we're going to get 40, 40 sharp on Yogger. That's 132 damage. That's so crazy. 213 damage cleave. We're just playing with our food now. No pun intended. Meeting ourselves to get a premium meet. This is fight 1 of Act 2. And we're on 48 sharp. I don't get this typically in Act 4. And this is fight 1 of Act 2. That's so crazy. Oh my god, this is so good. Oh, I'm so happy about this. I'm so happy about this. This is nuts. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip ahead to Ignidoh, the Act 2 boss. So before we head into Ignidoh, just an update of the state of play. Yogger looks very similar, except we upgraded the repetition trading, and we picked up this Enrage upgraded, which is excellent. In terms of equipment, this was where the big updates are. We got an Aquamarine bracelet, which just gives Yogger extra energy to pop off on turn 1. And we managed to find a shop corruptor, where we got a corrupted Berserker Claw. It was already extremely strong, and now we are pumping out some numbies. Gustav's equipment is pretty much the same as before, and in terms of the hero deck, we have a few curses from the Forge. I didn't save Scum the Forge in this fight, so we have suffer these severe burns. The deck is largely similar, except we did find 1 extra chant of accuracy, which we will change to the 0 cost when we get to Act 3. Nezglect, we found the free card upgrade, so Divine Power is now overchargeable. And the big development with Nezglect is the equipment. We did find an Amulet of Speed, and so now he's at parity with Gustav, and we can finally get Nezglect to go first. And on that topic, one thing that is missing is the Revealing Flask from Gustav's deck. We no longer need to do those shenanigans, because Nezglect is going to go first, and Nezglect can simply put an Inspire on Gustav to keep the Inspire chain going, rather than Gustav having to do the Revealing Flask trick. We also found the Mixed Salad on Nezglect, which is really nice. It's just a free card draw, and sometimes it just has the benefit of the tomato, where you can get a couple of buffer on Yogger as a way to delay response instead of detoxify. Andrin, we found a Stimulant Peels, so now our Chant of Initiatives are doing crazy work. We're going to change these to 0 costs because this is an excessive amount of fast. Otherwise, Andrin's deck is largely the same, and same with the equipment. So let's head into the Ignidoh fight and see how we do now that we've hit our level 3 power spike. Same deal, we critical succeeded the roll at the boss, so we do have to steal from Gustav twice in order to take his sharp this time. Again, chaining through Andrin's deck, drawing the full deck, making sure we get chance off on our allies. Critically, Nezglect is going to be able to go first here, so we can expert tracker Nezglect instead of Gustav. That hand is looking very good for Gustav, so no changes needed. We do have to give Gustav an Inspire because we're not expert trackering him anymore, which is why Nezglect is casting that Clarity on Gustav to make sure that Gustav draws 7. There we're digging for pillage on Yogger. Have to dig deep to make sure we get the key card for the combo. This is just poetry in motion. Quiet because I'm just drinking it all in. It's so beautiful. A premium meat as well for the for the 41 sharp that we're going to take from Gustav. And we're at the full. We've hit the cap of restricted power. That's a 226 damage, and we have a Blade Storm that's easily gonna finish him off. We'll take that repetition training, can never have too many, and head to Act 3. Here we are at the start of Act 3. And we're about to head out, and here's what we did. We had a lot of shards. Actually, one of the benefits of this style of play is because we're getting an excellent in every fight, we snowball shard rewards very heavily. And the beneficiary of those shards is largely Yogger in Act 3. We bought an additional Enrage, a Carnage, Infuriate, and Whirlwind. We spent a lot of money. We also upgraded the repetition training that we just received in the rewards against Ignidoh, and Yogger's deck is looking very nice. His equipment is very hard to improve on, so it's still the same. Same with Gustav. Gustav's deck is a thing of beauty. We changed that 4th chance of accuracy to a 0 cost, as I just discussed, and otherwise it's tough to improve upon perfection. One thing I neglected to mention about Nezgalek as a tongue twister is we did find an additional delay response, so we now have 2 of those to turbocharge Yogger. It's obviously a nice combo with Banish. At this point, the consistency of Nezgalek's deck is such that I don't really need Detoxify anymore. I'm comfortable that we can find Banish or a tomato from the mixed salad to make sure that Yogger gets the buffer. And because Nezgalek is going first, we can actually just delay Clarity, and then Gustav can speed Yogger up with his 3 chant of initiatives because Nezgalek is going first. So we just don't need to detoxify any longer. Nezgalek's equipment, basically the same. We went for an Oculi just in case we needed to dispel stealth in a round 2, but otherwise it's very similar to previously. Andrin's equipment is the same. And again, it's tough to improve upon perfection. We changed the chant of initiatives to 0 cost because 5 is somewhat excessive. This is obviously energy efficient, benefiting from the stimulant pills. We just don't need a 5 cost, a 5 fast energy. So I'm changing these to 0. Maybe we can get off an additional uproot, whereas before we would have just run out of energy. So that's the thinking here. We have 141 shards and a little bit of gold left. I would, if I could, I do like to take Arena Champion out of decks, especially Nezgalek, and obviously I took it out of Gustav. So if I had a card remove or more money, I would maybe consider doing that. But otherwise, we're ready to rock and roll. And similarly to my previous run, we're scouting. The route is going up across the top here. We're trading in the Emerald. We're scouting for Monty and Colin. We can't see those problematic enemies in any of these corruptors. So we're fairly safe, at least above ground, for Monty and Colin. And if we need to slow people down, we obviously have Eternal Lullaby as our bass slow. So I'm going to show you a corruptor fight, and then we'll skip straight ahead to the Hydra battle. The enemies here all immune to vulnerable because of the corruptor. So you'll see as we go, we're going to be ditching uproots. Normally I really like to play uproot, but it's a dead card essentially in this fight against this corruptor. So we'll be getting rid of those and tracing the way of Gustav too. As a reminder, we are still level 3. So we don't have Fated Future yet on Nesglect, and we'll be playing Encore when we do hit level 4 on Gustav, so that we can double up on Power Slave. Getting extreme amounts of sharp to 50 instead of the 40s that we're currently doing. Good old Tomato giving us some buffer. For the Americans watching, that's a tomato. Lots of surplus energy to overcharge Divine Power here, which is very nice. Again, Chant of Accuracy first, such that Sharp is the second aura and is stealable by Rob straight away. We level Fanfare at level 3 for Gustav for this exact reason. We're able to get off an Eternal Lullaby and still keep chaining through the deck. We wouldn't be able to do that with Shrill Tone, and we're already getting more than enough Sharp, which is why we're not going Shrill Tone on Gustav. But we need to play all of our cards, so you can see here why Fanfare is the level 3 of choice. Hitting the premium meat. Not that we'll need it, but it's always nice to hit. One funny interaction is you can steal from yourself, and you actually give yourself a little bit of extra status, and there we go. It's so ridiculous. We're gonna pick up this Divine Power on Nesglect and head to the Hydra. And here we go. This is what we've been planning for. I like to make a habit of killing Hydra on the first turn, and you'll see here with Eternal Lullaby, we're going to do just that by slowing them all down. The one that casts Invulnerable on himself is 25 speed. You can see that in the center there. He would otherwise cast Invulnerable on himself. But we're going to speed control our team up and then Eternal Lullaby him down so that Yogger can pop off and kill them all. Night Terror unnecessary for single targets. We're trying to AoE them all down with Whirlwind, so that's why we ditched Night Terror there. And you can see we're level 4. We have an Encore on Gustav and a Fated Future on Nesglect. I remember getting killed over and over by these guys going through the game, and gotta say it's really satisfying to chunk them all down on turn 1. You'll see we also picked up a last reward through the Spider Cave. So even though we could cast Eternal Lullaby, which I'll show you in just a second, I'm going to redo this fight and just ignore the last reward, just so you can see that we can still do it without it. Obviously getting the last reward is crazy good because it allows us to dig further into the deck. We'll still win without it, and I'll show you that. And here we go, Eternal Lullaby. Now they're all slower than Yogger. We cast our Chant of Initiative on Yogger. We have 50 sharp on Gustav to steal, and ready to rock and roll. Feed the Rich is nice. It gives us guaranteed meat that's gonna a gourmet meat that increases auras on Yogger. We're stealing our own Bless to go from 9 to 10. And we have a bunch of Fury, 50 sharp, 7 powerful, 12 Bless. This should be more than enough. Front guy's dead. Get a Carnage back. We'll double our Fury with Infuriate, and then Whirlwind is going to do insane damage. And we have so much overkill here with the cleave into repetition. We did find another Carnage as well for our troubles, which is great. We'll definitely be taking that. So this, I'm actually going to re-show the fight, and I'm going to redo the fight. So I'm actually going to trace over Last Reward on Gustav here, and just to show what it would look like with Eternal Lullaby and not playing Last Reward. So just so you can see the play pattern. It is extremely gratifying, kind of mapping and planning this all out and seeing it come to fruition. I'm kind of reminded that there's a debate of who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman. And one potential answer to that question is, well, if you give Batman enough time to plan, then yeah, he could take down Superman. And in M16 Highscore running, we are Batman. Which is a sentence I never thought I would say, but we have a lot of time to plan. We can map out everything in detail of what the turns look like. And this is just a great example of if you spend the time releasing and thinking through, mapping out the turns, seeing it all kind of crescendo like this. No song pun intended for Gustav there. It feels great. Fated Future is such a good card, making sure that Whirlwind is going to be free. It's just absolutely crazy value, getting 7 free energy on the carry. So here you'll see Gustav's turn. We could also do this without the flute, by the way. We obviously have a corrupted flute, but if you monitor the energy, again, easily doable. Power Slave is free. Eternal Lullaby is effectively 4 energy. So we would have no issues with energy with the setup, just in case you want to try it. And Deja Vu, not the card, but you know what's coming. Casting Meat on ourselves, we get a little extra buff for every 3 HP above 100. Now that we get that at level 3. Oh, it's so beautiful. And this time we will see you in Act 4. So here we are in Act 4. We're about to head out of town, and our game plan is extremely consistent. So the only changes that we've really made was to take a cleave out of Yogger's deck. We upgraded all of our repetition trainings into a 3-1 split between the blue and the yellow. I like to do this because it allows us to be very energy efficient and get off lots of carnages with this split. We upgraded Whirlwind, Infuriate, and the Enrage as well, so we sunk a lot of shards into Yogger. Gustav's deck, Nezglek's deck, and Andrew's deck are essentially the same as you saw at the end of Act 3. In terms of equipment changes, we did pick up a Venom Fang on Andrin from the Spider Queen. I like to play this because we play Uproot, obviously, on Andrin. Sometimes I pick up Wolfie in Act 4 for speed control against the final 2 bosses, which also benefits from Venom Fang. Nezglek's equipment is the same. Gustav, we picked up a free lover. Honestly, this is only effectively plus 22 HP. It's not really doing much else for us in this type of style. Yogger is the same setup. So that's where we are. We do save a little bit of gold just in case we, instead of re-rolling this shop, I would like to test some corruptor shops in Act 4, saving a little bit of gold here. And in the interest of time, we're going to skip straight ahead to the Twins fight. By now, you'll have seen the game plan, so we're going to skip ahead to that battle. Alright, well at this stage we're pretty much full power. We're level 5 with all the characters. We have all the cards we need to finish the game, and everything from here is upside. Nice top of the deck there for Gustav. All the critical cards are there. We're expert tracker in Nesgelect, obviously, because he's now faster than Gustav. And we don't need that second divine power at this stage. Good old Tomato. You can see here the clarity is giving 2 Inspire because of Nesgelect's level 5. So we don't need anywhere near as many to get Yogger to a full hand of 10 by the time that it's Yogger's turn. We have multiple Carnages, so just thinning the deck a little bit, making sure that we hit the key card, Pillage. You can see we hit a Corrupted Last Reward. So with Encore, we can get a second Power Slave. And with the Corrupted Last Reward, we can actually dig for a third Power Slave, you'll see here. So we're 100% getting to max sharp with Gustav. To the point where we don't even need to cast cards anymore. We can just pass the turn to Yogger. We found another Bluff, which I'm going to upgrade. I really like Bluff because it procs Pillage, and it's net the same cards, right? You can just use it as a double proc without having to use other attacks before we get strong. So I really like the Bluff. That is a 300 damage Gorge. We're up to 32 Fury. We're up to 98 Fury. That is so ridiculous. Oh my god. Oh wow, he picked up a Corrupted Demonic Tutor. So we can get off a second Divine Power, a cheap one on Nesgelect. And the Power Coil as well. At this point, better than the Aquamarine Bracelet. I do really like the Aquamarine, but this Power Coil, Yogger was already ridiculously strong, and oh my god, this is going to be crazy. We'll pick this back up at the final bosses. So here we are at the end of our journey, and we're about to head into the final fight. And just a brief overview of where we're at. We are at full power here. We have 2 Bluffs on Yogger to proc Pillage. We removed the Corrupted Cleave. Goodbye, old friend. You served us well. We have our 3-3-1 repetition training split. And from an equipment standpoint, obviously that Power Coil is going to be turbocharging Yogger's damage, particularly with this perk, doing 10% instead of 5%. Gustav, we no longer need the Eternal Lullaby against this final boss, so we took that out. Otherwise, the deck's the same, the equipment's the same. And Nesgelect, equipment's the same. We do have this Chalice of Kings that we picked up for a bit of extra bless. And from a hero deck standpoint, we took 1 Clarity out because we get so much Inspire from Nesgelect's level 5, and otherwise very similar to before. Andrin, same story. Equipment, no different. Hero deck, no different, very consistent. The last thing I'll mention is Yogger. We went left-hand side for level 5, given that this is not really going to proc for us, and we can just give ourselves a bit of extra energy from chaining a few food cards through the deck. So this is where we're at, and let's see how we do. We're going to skip straight to the key turns against the final 2 bosses. Alright, well you know the drill by now, so I just skipped ahead to the pop-off turn. We have a lot of bless, 13 powerful, we'll have 50 sharp, we're going to go up to 100 fury. For For those that watched the Bree video, she was doing an insane amount of damage with Unforgiving Nature. I'll have to run the numbers, but I think this is more damage from Carry Yogger of all characters. There you go, triple the Fury, Whirlwind up to 100 Fury, and we have what was that, 6 Carnages that we could cast if we'd like. We only needed 2 of them to take him down. And same deal for the Archon, going straight ahead to the pop-off turn. Here it looks like we have 16 Bless, 13 Powerful, and we are ready to rock and roll here, rocking our pillage. Fresh Meat doing just a casual 1000 damage. Gorge just, 1400 damage. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, we're up to 19 Bless, 23 Vitality. And we have 5 Carnages in our hand currently. One of them is 0. We can play that for free and just keep getting it back. And yeah, we absolutely destroyed him. There you go. Thank you for persevering. Jesus, so much damage. And there you can see 143,000 0 hero deaths. We took like 700 damage. I think half of that was fanaticism from Nesglect. And yeah, there we go. This look, this style of play, it is a little bit like playing solitaire or a puzzle, but I really enjoy it. And after having my ass handed to me in M16, it's kind of cathartic being able to kill all the enemies before they even go. It serves them right for making my life such a pain earlier in this game. One other thing I wanted to show you is a screenshot that I took from the original run. Somehow I had 23 Bless. I think I may have rolled them each differently, but I had 23 Bless on Yogger. You can see down there in the left. And when I was running the numbers here, we have 14,500 damage of overkill on Archon. So here we could have killed him twice over with this setup, which I'm not sure I've achieved that before. So I thought this was pretty cool. We killed him twice. And one other cool screenshot, the damage modifier on Yogger between his level 3, the Powerful, and the Fury was 692%. And a base damage adder of 118 on slashing. You can see that 23 Bless, 100 Fury, 26 Vitality, 13 Powerful, and 50 Sharp. So there we have it. I thought Yogger was kind of slow to ramp, but maybe I was wrong. So there we go, Robin Yogger. We did it. What a journey. Feast your eyes on my PowerPoint skills here. Who needs Photoshop when you can do PowerPoint instead? That's what I say. Needed a thumbnail for the video. But I hope you enjoyed this. It was crazy coming up with this, and maybe this inspires other people to try it. I will reiterate, this is a one-turn kill high score style. So if you like this style of play, then go for it. If instead this just encourages you to try something similar in a more conventional comp, then fantastic. And so that's it. So JJ, if you're watching, I'll give you an obligatory Tuesday, innit, governor? And then for everyone else, thank you for watching. Take care and good luck in your Across the Obelisk runs.